Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Sunday Messages. I want to take this episode to talk about a few different things. So, we all know this time of year is my favorite because as we head into the fourth quarter, there's a special kind of energy that comes up during the fourth quarter. And it's also when I run Apex. So, of course, we all know, if you're new here, you may not know Apex is my intensive, but it's a big deal. If you're in my world, you know that Apex is a big deal. You know that consumption fasting is a big deal, and it's a part of my community now. I feel like Apex has really taken on a life of its own, and it's something that it has an impact on everyone in my orbit, seemingly. It's impacted my friends, it impacts my Instagram community and my podcast community. It has an influence on people who come into my programs, even that aren't related to Apex. So I've had people really, really interested in consumption fasting, even if they're not going through the full Apex protocol. It has had a profound effect on my online presence and the people who are in my life. And so this is a very special time of year for me because at this time in 2021, I was getting ready to do my very first round of Apex. I had no clue what was in store. I did not think that I was going to be doing it twice a year. That was definitely not what I went into that with. I just went into it saying, I'm doing this. It's experimental. I don't know what's going to happen, but I invited people along with me. Nobody was interested in the beginning. I still took myself through Apex start to finish alone, and my life did a 180. I've told this story many times, but for those who are new here, just wanted to give you that introduction. So we're heading into the fourth quarter. It's September right now, but the fourth quarter has a very precious energy to me because it really puts your attention on time. Most people have this sense of losing time, or not losing time, but losing their consciousness around time in the middle of the year. So quarter 2 and quarter 3 are kind of dicey for most people, where it's like, you're not riding the wave of the new year. Maybe you set some mid-year intentions, perhaps. Maybe you've adjusted the goalposts for yourself sometime in the middle of the year. But during the fourth quarter, what does everyone say? Oh my God, can you believe it's going to be the year ahead? Can you believe it's going to be 2024? Can you believe we're already heading into the holidays? Can you believe? Wow, that flew by so fast. Blah, 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 blah. Now, my relationship with time is a bit different from other people's because my understanding is that time is perceptual, it's relative. And so the only reason why you experience time is going by fast is because when you're young, one day can seem like an eternity because you don't have a lot of time to compare it to. And then when you're 90, one day is nothing because you have all of this time to compare it to. And so it seems like much less compared to when you're young. But the interesting thing about approaching the end of the year is that there's this collective focus on time that happens. And there's two different things or two different options that people then have. It's you either sprint, you use the finish line as a reason to push harder, or you use the approaching year as a reason or an excuse to kick the can down the road. If you are not familiar with my fourth quarter podcast, go listen to that. Go listen to that because I explain the different options or the different ways to approach the fourth quarter that I recommend, because you don't have to capitalize on it if you don't want to. Maybe the fourth quarter for you is very family heavy. It's not for me. But if the fourth quarter is very family oriented, holiday heavy, then I give you an example of how to capitalize on that and how to use that energy and how to strategize around it. That way you're not trying to do too many things at the same time, and you're simply creating a container for your desired experience. So if you have not already listened to that, go listen to it. Again, it's in the Apex podcast playlist on my YouTube. Let me rewind a bit and tell you briefly what happened for myself during the last round of Apex. Whenever Apex season comes and whenever I'm launching Apex, I do the program with everyone inside, which is different from other containers because most of the time I have to be ahead in certain ways. So I have to test, I kind of have to be in the lab. I have to experiment with different things, or if I'm just concocting things, I'm testing, I'm feeling things out so that when I deliver it, I can guide everyone through it with ease. Apex is the one program where I do it start to finish with everyone. So I'm doing all of the same things with you. I'm following the same protocol. My areas of focus are probably different because everyone's areas of focus are different inside the container. But I do it twice a year because I like sprinting twice a year. That feels really good to me. And I like the timing of it. It's all synchronized with the equinoxes, and it's just a very juicy time. Now, the thing that was new during the last round of Apex was I was scheduled to move during the first month. So the last round started April 1st and it ended May 31st. Okay, so it's that 2-month block. My move happened on April 11th. And I knew and I took into account that moving has a tendency to be rough on me. I'm much more sensitive to moving than the average person. I am available to create new story around moving, but up to this point, I haven't fully cracked the code on making moving gentle on my body. I haven't established that quite yet, although I'm aware of the story that I'm telling. So whatever, it's a work in progress. However, this move in particular shook me much harder than usual. I don't know why, because I hired movers, I did everything right, I had a month to prepare, I was anticipating this. Like, there was no real reason for me to have a more difficult time than usual when it comes to moving, but for whatever reason, I fell into a horrible depression at the end of April. So I was here, I was doing okay for a couple weeks. And at first I was like, oh, this isn't bad at all. I think I'm gonna just cruise through this transitional period of time and maybe I'll come out on the other side unscathed. Boy, was I wrong. So at the end of April, I was completely rocked in all of the worst ways. Fell into a wicked depression, and I ended up breaking my fast early. And that was the only time that I've ever been in Apex and intentionally broken a fast early. Granted, it was like I was offset by like 2 weeks, but still, that's not ideal. But there was something, and it led to a whole other series of events, which I'll talk about in a moment. But essentially what ended up happening was my results were not what they normally would be when I do Apex. And if you've been listening to me for a while, you've seen me go through 4 rounds of this. I'm heading into my 5th. I can't believe this is the 5th time I'm running it. So every single time I have stories, revelations, teachings that emerge from my experience during Apex. I learn a lot during Apex. My life changes dramatically. My relationships change dramatically. My quality of life, the quality of work that I deliver. So many things get an upgrade. And the way that I describe Apex is like, I am strapping you into a rocket ship. I'm not an exception. I'm not an exception to that. That happens for me too. That's why I'm like addicted to the state that I get in and the results that I get in when I'm doing Apex. Like, hello, if you know something is highly effective, why would you not do it? And so this was the first time in Apex that 1, I broke my fast early, and 2, that I wasn't able to play full out the way that I wanted to. And what ended up happening when I broke my fast, it was a very odd series of events. Generally speaking, when I have some type of, let's just call it an emotional crisis. So it's a crisis that only occurs inside of my inner world. That's kind of how I see my mental health, if you will, or a lack thereof, is it's not necessarily triggered by an external crisis. It's an emotional, perceptual crisis that happens internally only. And I'm aware of all of this. But what ended up happening as a result of me breaking my fast was honestly, I have a lot of resistance to saying this out loud because people have a lot of thoughts and judgments about this. I literally started reading the Bible. I'm not joking. I would sit down at the table, my tea table in my room, and I would study the Bible. I was annotating the Bible. Okay, that's what ended up coming out of this horrible depression. I'm sure I'll do a podcast episode on the Bible and religion and theology and sacred texts, and that's all stuff that I'm very interested in and I've always been interested in. But this time was a little bit different because it really had me getting in touch with God through a different avenue, and it opened up a really substantial prayer practice for myself. This ongoing dialogue with God is what ended up coming out of it. And to think that all of this happened because I broke my fast was really interesting. So kind of shifted my trajectory in terms of my relationship with God and connecting to God and really feeling into God's perspective. So anyway, all of that, I was having this like existential and spiritual crisis during the last round of Apex. Now, the other interesting thing, and I'm never sure exactly what is going to happen during Apex because it's different every time. Every time someone goes inside, their priorities are different. Their lifestyle is different. What they want to focus on is different. The areas of life that they desire to see upgrades in are different. And so that is going to shape what ends up happening as a result. And this was also the first time that only one person got inside. I've never ran a round of Apex with only one person inside. And so it was really interesting to me, like ego aside, wanting full containers aside, it was like, what is this? Like, especially a lot of the time, okay, this is a side tangent. I think many of us evaluate ourselves as, I want a lot of something. But then there's part of us that can't fully comprehend what it means to hold space for a lot of something. And we have a tendency to over-evaluate what our bandwidth is and then judge ourselves when we weren't given more than we can handle. So anyway, I just want to point that out. If you have a feeling that you're receiving less of something, I would encourage less than you want. I would encourage you to focus more on being super, super, super intentional and having a good relationship with the things that you already have. You know, it's this idea of stewardship. You want more, but are you being a good steward of what you already have? Are you in love with what already exists? Are you in love with the things that are already in your vicinity, with the type of projects that you're working on, the money that you have, the quality of life that you have, the quality of relationships or the people that are around you that you already have? Are you being a good steward of those things? And if the answer is no, then that is actually what will result in more growth, is if you can focus more on your stewardship than more. So this was something that I was really aware of in terms of, it made me question my bandwidth, right? Because we all want as much as we can possibly handle. And so I was just curious. I didn't really know what was going to happen as a result of just having one person in Apex, even though people often feel like it's a VIP treatment, which is fine by me. So, of course, it made sense after I hit that wave of depression. I was like, oh, okay, this is why I don't have 20 people inside right now. It's because of this patch that I was going through. And it was about 10 days of really wicked, dark depression. And so the client that I was working with during the last round, she wrote a testimonial. So I want to be clear. I'm just going to share one part of what happened. She put it in the testimonial, but I kind of want to speak to an interesting observation, something that really clicked during the last round that I saw happen for her. So Apex is one of those things. It's one of those containers where there's not really a lot of wiggle room to fuck around. Because all of the things that you would normally use to numb are taken away. You can't do them. So it puts a lot of attention on everything that's happening in your life, what you're doing moment by moment. And Apex is one of those containers that facilitates a large amount of consciousness. It puts a magnifying glass on every single thing that you're doing and how every single thing makes you feel during the day. There's no escaping it. You can't numb, you can't check out, you can't ignore what's going on. So it puts you in this position where you have to digest what's going on and you can't ignore what's happening on a day-to-day basis. And it really makes you focus in a powerful way. And what I found from working with the last client was there was all of this potential that was dwelling underneath numbing. And this is true for many of us. If you're in habitual numbed states, then you're not able to get to the goods, the real shit, what you want to be doing, what you know you should be doing is all kind of dwelling underneath this low grade or high grade numbing. And when all of that gets taken away, you're left to confront your own potential. Like you don't have another choice. This is something that you have to look at and you have to pay attention to. And this is one of the reasons why it can expedite your growth and why it has expedited my growth every single time is because you can't crawl into a hole. You can't hide. You can't numb out. And so it just blows the cover off of everything. And then it allows all of your potential to shine through. And it allows all of these opportunities to come to the surface. So during one of the sessions, I would say this was 6 weeks in. This was 6 weeks into Apex. It's an 8-week container. It had to be week 5 or 6, somewhere around that mark. And the thing that I tell people is week 5 and 6 is when there is the first month is where we first launch you, right? You get launched into orbit that first month. By the time week 5 and 6 come around, you typically have to do some reevaluating. There's some changes that get made. Stuff really starts moving around that time. And so we get on our call, as we do every week. And the first thing she says to me is, so I'm getting a divorce. Which I just want to say, that's not exactly the type of thing that you want to lead with in terms of as someone who's facilitating, things in the personal development area. Most people do not associate divorce with an upgrade. Okay. And again, she wrote about this in her testimonial if you want to go read it. It's on the Apex page. The link will be in the description box, show notes, all that good stuff. So my immediate response when she brought that to the session was, is this, oh my God, oh no? Or is this cause for celebration? In my opinion, I feel like nobody asks that. Like everyone and their mother assumes that divorce is catastrophic. And that's not always the case, particularly when you're in alignment. And again, as I say, that first month you get launched into orbit, and then you'll start to see some really significant things happen around week 5 or 6. I was not expecting that big of a shift. I have chills right now because it was so significant. I was not expecting that to be brought. But what ended up happening was just that series of events actually resulted in more love being brought into the situation. It wasn't contraction, devastation, everything falling apart. It was, this is liberation. There's more love than ever between them. It freed up all of this space. And it's one of those things that, had the numbing continued, as this is true for all of us, when numbing continues, we can't really see the truth, and we can't feel the truth, and we can't feel into our personal sense of direction. And it was just, it really punctuated what is dwelling under the surface of numbing. Because that's shocking news. For something like that to be initiated within only a few weeks of working together, like that's significant. And that would be rattling for most people. But again, I say this all the time, alignment is the cure-all. Divorces from a space of misalignment don't go well. Divorces from a space of alignment do go well. If you are in alignment, there's no way that the path that unfolds underneath your feet is not taking you somewhere good. If you're, really, just think about this. you're connected to God, you have a deep understanding that your desires are in this constant state of opening, this constant state of unfolding. You're moving along the path, you're clear-minded, you're clear-hearted, you're clear on every single level. You're sensitive to everything that's happening for you. You're digesting your emotions effortlessly. You're moving through things quickly. You're bouncing back from things quickly. Again, you're connected to God, connected to God, connected to God. It's like that is only going to bring more love and more alignment and more good stuff into the mix. You can't go wrong, even if it looks like something that has a negative connotation like a divorce, which is why the first question that I asked was, is this oh no, or is this yay? Because that is something that only you know. Now, in my personal experience, relationships, when you're going through Apex, have a tendency to get deeper. So you have an improvement in relationships. They deepen, they get juicier, they improve. Or it's something where the relationships evolve to the point where those certain people cannot continue to be in your field because there's so much incongruence between your state, your frequency, and where that other person is at. And so there were 2 rounds of Apex. For me, both of these happened in 2022, where during each round of Apex, I lost a relationship. Not fully and completely. Some of you might remember during the spring round of Apex, my sister moved out, if you remember that whole saga. And during the fall round of Apex, I got a really nasty, this was like day 3 of Apex. I got a nasty phone call from a family member of mine. And essentially I wasn't getting reactive with her, but she essentially just blew up the relationship and we no longer speak. She just phased herself out. So it's very interesting where, again, no matter what, the end of the story is that your alignment brings better things and better things and better things and better things. Always. And a lot of the time, what happens for people is they get into these habitual patterns of numbing. I'll do it later. 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 Numbing. There's a low-grade tension. There's discomfort. There's little ruptures, little problems that are coming up during the day. Numbing. And it's like you're putting all of this pressure. You have all of this pressure building. You have all of this baggage that has built up, and Apex is what completely blows the cover off all of that, where you literally can't do that. The only way that you can truly endure pain is when you sedate yourself and when you numb yourself. If you're using substances and numbing out with video games and all that shit, you can endure many things that are quite intolerable for you. So like the example with my last client who was in Apex, there were many things that she was tolerating that she was like denying this significant call of her soul. And then all of a sudden it was like she was completely unleashed as a result of going through that, because she had no choice but to confront the truth of what she deeply wanted in this life. That's significant. And the reality is we have that option every single moment of every single day. We always have the option to numb. Choosing not to numb is bold in 2023. It is a radical decision in the age of technology to be doing something like that. To say, I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to indulge in that, and I'm not going to overconsume, and I'm going to restrict myself. I'm going to consciously restrict myself and devote myself to all of these things that I would like to see flourish in my life. That's radical in today's culture, at least. The other thing that I've noticed, and this is something that I presented to everyone inside Once Upon a Time. You may have remembered I did a bunch of content as I was launching Once Upon a Time. You might remember that. So we're about to wrap up. We're about to have our final call. And during the last call, I kind of made it an active workshop for us where I was helping everyone work things out, kind of do some fine tuning around all of the tools that we've been working on together, so on and so forth. And it was interesting because one of the things that kept coming up in the group was, I'm good. I'm all good. Everything's fine. Yeah, I'm good. Life is good. And at first I was so confused by the response from the group. And the thing that I immediately went to, I said, okay, so you have absolutely no resistance, doubt, or fear. You're feeling good and you're getting everything that you want all the time. That's the reality that you're living? No, that's not what was happening. What was happening is there was not a crisis. There was just low-grade discomfort that was going on. Very low grade. And the interesting thing is that people have a high tolerance for low-grade pain. That is not good, my friends. Being tolerant of low-grade discomfort will fester. It might not right now, but at a certain point, it's going to have to get your attention. And this is one of the interesting things that comes up in Apex is, no, you don't have a choice. You go 2 weeks into a fast, you're going to see your shit. You're going to see it loud and clear. There's not going to be any confusion about what needs to be tended to and what's going on and what the real problem is. It's going to be in your face because, well, that is the point in which you can fully and completely expand. And not everyone experiences expansion in the same way because, hey, we're all different. We have different life paths, different passions, different interests, different areas that are important to us. And so in Once Upon a Time, I was just picking up on this low grade pain that was present in the group. Like, yeah, life is good. I'm good where I am. But there's also not a complete and total willingness to harmonize with the fullest, most expansive version of you either. That is pretty much the same thing as dealing with low-grade pain. So one of the things that I ended up asking the group as well, and I told everyone inside, I was like, I do not create containers to act as like a life ring to save you. I don't believe that anyone in my world hires me because it used to be like this back in the day, but with where my career is now, my focus is entirely on optimization. I focus more on speed, relationship with God, optimizing your performance. It's like all of my work is revolving around performance enhancement. And I'm not attracting clients who need saving. I'm not an energetic match for that. And so it was interesting getting this reflected back, because one of the things that I noticed in the group was they were okay not stepping on the gas because there was no crisis present. And what I want to present on this podcast is, don't wait for a crisis. Don't get in that habit. Don't say, well, I'll stretch myself when it's absolutely necessary and I'm in excruciating pain and I have no choice. You can if you want. I just don't recommend it. I don't advise it. I don't think that's good for anyone. That is so rough on your body and on your mind, and it's not good. Why not just floor it while you're feeling good? Why not just feel into what is possible and what your potential is now? Why not? Not everything needs to be a rescue mission. And the other thing is, your growth will be more sustainable if you're expanding when you're in a place where you feel good. It just will. That way you don't create this roller coaster experience where it's high, low, high, low, high, low. And if you wait for a crisis, that's the type of environment that you create for yourself. So I asked everyone in Once Upon a Time, because it was a short sprint, is kind of how I treated it, like an intensive, because it was very tool heavy. It was teaching heavy, and like, I'm gonna give you the quickest version possible, the most intense version possible. And so I asked everyone inside, I said, who here feels like you have not left an ounce of potential on the table? Who feels like you played full out for the past 4 weeks? Who feels like you wrung out your soul? There is not a drop of potential left in your body because you played full out every single day. And everyone was silent, and you could hear a pin drop in the room. Because voluntarily doing that when you are not pushed to your absolute limit is something that we generally resist. And to be clear, there are some people like David Goggins who want to live in that 24/7, but I'm not even talking about that. I'm not talking about you needing to push yourself to the absolute extreme 24 hours a day. That's also no way to live, in my opinion. But why not sprint every once in a while? Why not play full out? Why not? Don't you want to see what's on the other side of that? Don't you want to see what is uncovered? Don't you want to see what's possible? And I think that people really have, aside from the tolerance of the low grade pain, there's also this tolerance of the status quo. And so if you're constantly maintaining the status quo, in order for your attention to be put on the pain point, things have to get worse. So you're essentially, instead of being super sensitive to the subtleties of the energetics and the low grade pain, you have to experience this deep contraction in order for you to allow yourself to expand into your full potential. And that's not how it has to be. It's not. It's not. You can stay ahead of it if you are fully paying attention to the subtle contractions and the ways in which you're choosing something that doesn't fully feel good. If you're paying close attention to that all the time, you will naturally be guided to all these different wonderful things in your life, because you're allowing that pulse of life to guide you. The call of God is calling you. But God isn't going to be able to get your attention if you're numbed the fuck out? How are you going to feel it? How are you going to know it? How are you going to be able to feel deep truth? You can't honor your truth if you don't even know what it is and you can't hear it. And that's why I thought, you know, the last client that I took through Apex just demonstrated it beautifully. I highly recommend that you go read her testimonial because she shared a lot of her experience. And it was just such a beautiful witnessing of what happens when the numbing is no longer an option, when that's not a choice, and you're put in a position to truly, fully, and completely honor yourself without any contradiction. Who doesn't want that? Who doesn't want that? You will live the fullest life possible. I don't even think it's complicated. It's like, well, if you could live in full communion with God every moment of your day, you would live a fully orgasmic life, is essentially what would happen. Have you ever felt that? Have you ever been in a meditation or had an experience where it felt like your soul had an orgasm? Every single moment has the potential to feel like that, but your sensitivity to that is probably lacking. That opening yourself into a space where you can even feel that, it's like, first of all, that's pretty much how death feels. That's what I imagine the dying experience, not the suffering when you're still in your body, but when you emerge into the astral plane to infinity and beyond. It's like, that's what I imagine that to feel like. And the thing is, you can get pretty freaking close much more of the time than we allow ourselves to do here. Let me see if there's anything else for you here. What I want to say, my hair is stuck in my glasses. What I want to say is, as the fourth quarter approaches, and perhaps you've been evaluating your life, maybe you've been ignoring things, maybe you're not putting your full attention, awareness, your consciousness on the things that are happening for you now. Maybe you've been neglecting your desires. Maybe you've been trying to stay away from it because it feels a little bit too painful, because your thinking is all jumbled. There's many things that could be going on for you in this moment. But I would encourage you to look at, where have you been kicking the can down the road? Where have you been depriving yourself of experiencing your full potential? Because understand that you experiencing your full potential, one, is going to be relative based on the season of life that you're in. Okay, we all go through seasons where we require different things. And damn it, I lost my train of thought again. It's your potential is a choice. You fulfilling your potential is a choice. And that's the point. And how a lot of stubborn humans are is, I need to fly as close to the sun as possible. I need to experience as much suffering as I possibly can before I allow myself to expand into this potential that I know exists within me. And so ask yourself, do you desire to continue living that way? Is that what you really want? Is that how you want to go into this fourth quarter? Is that how you want to go into this next season that we're stepping into? Is that how you want to approach your 2024? It might be sensitive, it might be a bit emotional, but can you look at the time that has passed this year? Do you feel like you milked it for everything that it was worth for yourself, for your own sake? Not for anyone else. You experiencing your potential, that is for you to get into bed at the end of the day and feel good about what you experienced, and to feel good about you being in this body and you feeling alive. That's the point. The point is not for things and stuff, but that's a nice natural byproduct of your full potential. But this is really about you playing full out in your enjoyment and pleasure of the life experience that you've chosen. That's why potential interests me so much. And that's why performance interests me so much. And when I asked everyone in Once Upon a Time, I said, okay, so who played full out this month? Who treated this like an intensive? And I was met with crickets. My response was, then that means you can experience more and you can go faster. You're leaving things on the table that you can have. If you can sit, look at your life and say, I know that there's more I could have, that I could have not done, but that I could have calibrated to. If there was a state I could have gotten in, if I could have brought more excellence into how I've been treating myself and how I've been working with myself and how I've been speaking to myself and doing things that I know support me. If you know that you can bring more excellence, then that means there's a lot more available to you in this life. And this has nothing to do with action. Again, action is a byproduct. Action is a later stage of the manifestation process. And so what I wanted to point out to everyone in Once Upon a Time was just know, just see how much is available for you. Just pay attention to that. Just know that nothing is being withheld or deprived from you when you know that you can calibrate to this, that there's more that's available. That you know that if you were energetically aligned, or let me say that better, if you were energetically in a dominant state of the desire being fulfilled or inhabiting the characteristics and attributes that you desire for yourself. If you're doing that most of the time and you are consistently working on increasing the percentage of time that you are emitting those things, then more and more and more of those things will become available. I know that I'm saying like things and energy and things and energy, but that's the ratio. That's how this works. Your energy is dominant in one direction. There's some type of dominance, or if it's an equal split, that's just as bad. If you have equal hope and equal doubt, you're not going anywhere until you start giving more of that weight energetically in terms of thought and emotion to the desire that you have. All I know for sure, after taking myself through Apex and taking many people through Apex and just working with so many people over the years, what I know for sure is that you are capable of more. There is a lot of food on the table that's available for you. There's greatness that is constantly available within you. Your heart is constantly pinging you. It's constantly telling you what it knows to be true. It's constantly trying to get your attention. And whether or not you listen or you reject it, that's completely up to you. That's your personal choice. But I have a fear of regret. So I don't find myself ignoring the call that often these days. It as you do it more and more, you'll just notice this sinking, sick feeling anytime you deny your soul. It'll feel like death. It'll feel terrible in your body. It's this icky feeling that happens inside, but you don't know that if you're numb. You don't know that if you habitually ignore it. You don't know that if you're insensitive to yourself and your own experience. This is subtle work. This is not always obvious unless you've ignored it to the point where it is a crisis. But I would say that we could all use more personal sensitivity to what's going on with us energetically. Not sensitivity to what other people say, do, think, and feel. Not sensitivity to that. Sensitivity to your inner world. Sensitivity to your thoughts. Sensitivity to what you imagine for yourself. Be sensitive to these things. Let's see. Anything else? Apex begins on October 1st. The doors close September 22nd. So I'll let you know the change that I made this time. I used to have it so that you could join Apex at the 11th hour. However, that is very stressful for me because there's a lot of material that you need before you even know what to do for the protocol. So the way that I've changed it this time is doors close on September 22nd. You have to be in, you've got to be paid, everything needs to be all buttoned up. And then we do a week of prep. So during that prep week, you have the consumption fast workshop that's pre-recorded. It's a little over an hour, I think, of me giving my spiel, my whole explanation on consumption fasting, how to do it, what to keep in mind, what to fast from, what to not. All of that stuff is in one workshop. So you have to watch that. So you know what to do, know what to prepare for, know who to talk to, what to ask for, all that stuff. And then we do a prep call where I help you tailor Apex to your personal desires, what you want to get out of it, what your goals and dreams and what you really want to enhance, where you feel that there's more of that potential dwelling within you. We talk about all of that. We work together on it. I open up the Voxer room, get everything prepped. And I also, I've decided I'm going to open the Voxer room early for this round. So I'm going to open it for that prep week so I can answer any questions about prep. Or, for example, I have a lot of Australians who follow me. So if any Australians are joining Apex and you can't make the calls, that's completely fine. We can just work everything out in Voxer instead. And Voxer is like a messaging voice memo app. That's where I host all my masterminds. What else? Yeah, we go over all of the anchor points during the prep call. I explain the differences between them. I give you all the specifics, all the way that you're going to structure and organize your day, what you're going to be doing every day. Like, we go in depth on all of that. I talk about exceptions. I talk about what to do when you have less time, what to do when you're busy, what to do when all of the lifestyle or the life stuff begins to come up. And so we answer all of those questions. I answer all those questions. I need new glasses because my hair keeps getting stuck in these. So, anything else about Apex? I think that is all for now. I'm sure I will have more. I'm going to be talking more about the fourth quarter heading into this time of the year. Oh, the other thing, if you want to work with me directly, this is going to be the last opportunity for the year. Apex is the last thing that I'm running this year that is in an intimate container. That's the last mastermind that I'm running of the year, the last time that I'm doing like an intensive like this until 2024. So if you're feeling the call, if you want to play big, if you want to go all in, if you're ready, if you're done fucking around, if you want more out of your life, if you want to feel what peak potential actually is and what peak state actually is, I would love to have you and I would love to show you. Because I've been doing this for a while now and it's fucking awesome. So if you want to take part in that, you are more than welcome to apply. Applications are open now. I'm going to go a bit heavier into launching this as the weeks go by. And again, September 22nd is the cutoff date so we can have our prep week. All right, friends, that is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much. I hope you've enjoyed. Share this if you know someone needs to hear it, and I will talk to you all next time. Bye.